Hello everybody, and today we are going to be looking at Ideal City with the Fountain and Statues of the Virtues. And it was painted by Fra Carnevale, and this is an oil on wood image. It was painted in 1500 CE, and it exemplifies all the characteristics of the high Southern Renaissance, which basically just means in Italy. Also, during this time, Michelangelo was sculpting David, Raphael was doing his famous frescoes in the Stanza della Signatura in the Vatican, and basically the Renaissance was just flowering and many different innovations in art were around at this time. And this image, which was actually commissioned by Montefeltro, who was the Duke of Urbino, it depicts an ideal city with geometric buildings, tiny people, and calm weather. And this picture coming up here is Fra Carnevale. And the buildings on either end of the painting seem to frame the central action of the woman getting water from a fountain. And then this next image coming up is just one of the Duke of Urbino, Montefeltro, and it's because of patronage from rich and powerful families like this that Renaissance thinking and learning could really flourish at this time because the artist had money and backing. Again, back to the painting. The orthogonals, which are the diagonal lines receding into space, meet at a very prominent vanishing point, which is the central barrel vault of the Roman triumphal arch directly in the center. And this highly mathematical way of depicting space was a true hallmark of the Renaissance, because the artists wanted to take reason and logic from the Greeks that they admired and apply it to their own paintings, so it's kind of like appropriating perspective. All other aspects from Greece and Rome are the three buildings in the background, and specifically the ones, or the two on either side of the triumphal arch in the center. Now to start with the triumphal arch, that is actually the Arch of Constantine, which is in Rome today, right outside the Colosseum. On the left side, we have the Colosseum, even though it's more ideal and more complete than it would have been to Fra Carnevale and indeed what it looks like today. On the right side, you have the Florence Baptistry, and this was actually the building that Brunelleschi did his famous one-point perspective experiment, holding up the mirror to see a perfect image of it on the other side. So that is what this building is based off of. Also, there is 4 columns surrounding the central square, and they have figures on top of them. And these are personifications of Greek and Roman virtues, including justice, moderation, liberality, and courage. And these figures really reminded me of the column of Trajan because it also has a striding figure on top that's akin to the figures depicted here. And, or at least in the case of the column of Trajan, these figures represent power, wealth, and knowledge. Also, one detail that I noticed, but I'm not sure if it's completely correct, is the green floor in the courtyard. And this really looks like the marble incrustation, which is usually on Romanesque or Gothic cathedrals, and usually is on the facade of many other Italian cathedrals as well. And so I don't know if the artist appropriated that from the earlier buildings or if that's just what he wanted to paint the floor. And finally, this painting is essentially propaganda for the perfect, ideal, and unachievable city. And of course, Florence and Siena or Pisa or even Rome never really looked like this. And the image of the woman drawing water from an overflowing fountain was meant to suggest the abundance and wealth of a faultless city. And here we have a picture of the Florence Baptistry that you just saw in the image. And according to my art history textbook, quote, "A woman draws water from a splendid community well, evidence of the ruler's generosity in providing fresh water for the citizens." And this really exemplifies the role of the Medici, Gonzaga, Montefeltro, and other powerful families during the Renaissance. They were patrons of the arts, and they brought wealth and status to their city. And here we have a picture of the Colosseum, one that I took myself. And remember, this was a building that was on the left side of the triumphal arch. And overall, the painting depicted, or the city depicted in this painting is beautiful, but it's really unreal because the humans are dwarfed by the charity of the ruler and his domineering buildings. And right here we have a picture, one that I took again, of the Arch of Constantine. And this is unique because Constantine took parts of other emperors' buildings and arches and put them on his own. So those two round circles that you see in the purple on the right are actually Hadrian's roundels. And so Constantine was trying to evoke the glory and the might of the past emperors, and he wanted to try to outdo them. And here is just a relief from the interior of the arch. I'm not quite sure what it says, but you can see the Latin inscription there. So I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed learning about the ideal city. Hello everybody, and today we are going to be looking at a Renaissance etching. This is Battle of the Nudes that was painted by Antonio del Paoluelo in 1465. Paoluelo was actually born in Florence during the early Renaissance, and he was contemporary with some of the Renaissance giants such as Cosimo and Lorenzo de' Medici, as well as innovative artists such as Ghiberti, Botticelli, if any of you know The Birth of Venus, Brunelleschi, and Campin and Van Eyck in the north. During the Renaissance, there was a great focus on humanism, and that was a focus or belief in human accomplishment and the ability of the human mind. And here is just a couple of pictures of Florence, which is where the Renaissance basically was born. And Paoluelo's brother Piero was also a humanist. Paoluelo moved to Rome